Hi everyone, welcome back to another session of admin training series. So in this one, we are going to talk about master detail and lookup relationships that we have in Salesforce. So in the previous session, we discussed that why do we need to create a relationship in Salesforce? And if you remember from the previous session, then we discussed that actually in Salesforce, there is no concept of primary or foreign key, but rather we create relationship fields in order to basically create a relationship between two objects, right? So we will start with master detail and then we'll go ahead and also check out the lookup relationship. Basically, these two are the examples: master detail relationship field and lookup relationship field. These two are the examples, or you can say relationship fields, using which you can create a relation between two different objects in Salesforce. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started with master detail. So I'll brief you about what master detail is, and then I'm going to explain you the same thing with the example of two different tables so that you'll understand that why we need to create the relationship. All right, and then we'll go ahead and check out in the org that how we actually create the relationship. All right, so let's just have a look at the agenda first. So we are going to discuss about what is a master detail relationship. Then we'll also talk about what is a lookup relationship. We'll also see what are the differences between a master detail and a lookup relationship field. And then we'll also check out the demo. So demo we are not going to check at the last, but every time when we are discussing master detail relationship, we will go ahead and create a master detail relationship field. And similarly, when we talk about lookup relationship, we'll go ahead and create one. All right. So let's just get started with master detail relationship. Okay. So before I actually go into the definition, let me show you the tables so that you will get a better understanding. So I have created two tables here. One is my employee table and one is my company table. Okay, so in company table I have listed different companies, their email IDs and their phone numbers, right? And then in employee table I have maintained all the employees data. Okay, now let's say that when you're actually creating records in Salesforce, when you're creating any employee, you want that employee to be tagged to a company. You do not want to create any employee who does not belong to a company. Okay, basically you don't want to create any orphan employee who is not working for any company. Okay, so what does that mean? And this condition is required in your criteria. Okay, so uh, because every time when you'll be creating an employee, you want it to be tagged to a company. That means you are putting a required condition over there, right? That means company and employee are actually bonded with each other, right? Tightly bonded with each other, correct? So in such kind of cases, what we can do, we can create a master detail relationship. But if you know about the relationships, the kind of relationships that we have one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many, right? So in this case, the first thing that you have to figure out is what is the kind of relationship these two tables has. Okay, so in this case, employee and company, what kind of relationship does it have, right? Because in order to create a master detail relationship, you actually need to understand that which object is going to act as the parent and which object is going to act as the child. Because master detail is nothing but the parent child relationship, master is nothing but the parent, child is nothing but the detail. Okay, so you need to figure out that which one should be parent and which one should be child. Okay, in short, which one should be master and which one should be detail. Okay, and in order to figure that out, you need to understand that which kind of relationship exists between these two objects. Is it one to one, one to many, many to one, or many to many? Okay, so here if you see, so one company can have multiple employees, right? But one employee can work only for one company, correct? So what kind of relationship does it have? It has one to many. Okay, so wherever it is one, right, this is nothing but this is one and this would be many. Okay, so whatever comes on the one side, right, that is nothing but your parent record, parent object. That is going to be your parent object. In this case, it will be your master object. Okay, and whatever comes on the many side, that is going to be your child object, or you can say detail object, which is nothing but the employee in this case. Okay, so basically when we will actually create these two objects in Salesforce org, and when I create a record for company and then I start creating employees, let's say I created these three employees and I am tagging Robert and Ceci to TCS. That means there are two employees working for TCS, right? So by that way, when you actually see the record, you will exactly, just by seeing the record, you will understand that, okay, this is one company and this company has multiple employees. Like, whoever is tagged, that will be actually added on the related list of the record. Don't worry if you're not understanding this, I'm going to demo this for you, okay? But before I actually jump to the demo, I'm going to talk a little bit about the features. So in a master detail relationship, as per the definition goes, the only thing that you have to keep in mind is that you create a master detail relationship field in order to connect two objects, and when those two objects are actually tightly bounded with each other, okay? That means you cannot create a child record without a parent, okay? This is nothing but your child, and this is your parent. So in case of master detail relationship, there will be no child record without a parent. You cannot create orphan childs not having the parent, okay? Because parent will be required whenever you are creating a child. That is the main feature of a master detail relationship, okay? Now let's just go ahead and check out the features, and then we'll go ahead and start creating the relationship field, okay? And one more thing. So in this case, now again the second thing that you would be wondering is, okay, that you have understood that this is on the one side, this is going to act as the parent, or you can say master. This is on the many side, this will be child's, and this is nothing but your detail object. But then when you are actually going ahead and creating a master detail relationship field, where will you be creating that field? Whether are you going to create that field on the company object or on the employee object? So whenever in master detail relationship, detail relationship field, it always has to be created on the detail side. Always create on the detail side. And what is your detail side? Your detail side is employee table, right? The child. All right. So let me just go to the master detail relationship field features, and then for each and every feature we are going to just create one field, and then we'll understand all the features, okay? So these are the features of master detail relationship, and I've listed few features here. So I'll just go ahead and create a master detail relationship field first. So as I've mentioned here, I've already created two objects. I have an object called company, and I have another object called employee in my org. So I'm just going to create a master detail relationship field for you, okay? And where are you going to create that field? On the employee object, okay? So I'll go to my org, and so let me I'm going to delete what I have, and I will start over so that you'll understand better. All right. So now, as per the points that we discussed, when I have to create the master detail relationship field, I would be creating on the child side, and employee is my child side. So I will go ahead in the org, and I will open the employee object. Okay. So in the object manager, I have opened employee object, and in the employee object, I will click on in under fields and relationships, I will go ahead and click on new. And here you will see a data type for master detail relationship. Okay. So I will select the master detail relationship. And in the next step, you have to choose the parent. Okay. The master, you have to choose the master, that which master it is related to. So here the master is company, correct? How come the master is company? This is what we discussed here, right? This is my detail, and this is my master. Okay. So I'm selecting the master here, which is company. Company. And then here you have to field name, which is okay. We'll talk about these features later on. For now, I'm just creating the field. Okay. So as it is a master detail, you see that it is already visible and visible to each and every profile. And I'm keeping the field on the layout and save. Okay, so I have created a field, a master detail field, which is actually a detail to the object company on employee object. Okay, so if I go and open a record for employee, then I should be able to see this field, correct? So I'll just go here, and let me go ahead and go to the employees. Employee is nothing but my child, right? So if this is a child, right? Now, if I am trying to create a child, Here you see the company is visible now, right? This is the master detail relationship field that I created. Now let's just go one by one for all the features that I've listed, so that we'll understand, like, while we are doing any hit and trials on the field. So deleting a master record deletes all the detail record. Okay, so that means in a master detail relationship, if you are deleting the parent record, all the child records will be deleted automatically. So for example, here, if you have created a record for company TCS and you have tagged two employees, Ceci and Angela. So if you delete this record, TCS record, then Ceci and Angela record of employee object will be deleted automatically. Okay, so that is one feature. Let's just go to the second feature and then we'll see two features at a time. A detailed record cannot be created without a master record. That means a detailed record is what? This is nothing but a child record, right? So you cannot create a child without a master record, without a parent record. Okay, now let's just go ahead and see that. So what is my child here? My child is employees. Okay, and parent is company. So whenever I'm trying to create an employee, can I create an employee without a company? No, because the moment I created company, it has made it required because it is a master detail. So in case of master detail, whenever you're creating a child, the master will always be a required field. Okay, so here let me just enter something, and then let me just enter something here. All right, and then in the company, I don't have any, so I'm just going to add a record in the company. Okay, so here let me just add Google, or let's just, like, whatever I have in the table, I'll just enter those and save. Okay, so now I can proceed and save the employee record. So you understood this point, right? That you cannot create a child record without providing a master reference in the child record. Okay, so now as I have provided the master reference, I can go ahead and save the record. Okay, so here it is. Here it is, company. Okay, now let's just go ahead and check the other point. Deleting a master record deletes all the detailed records. Okay, so now what is the master record? The master record is company, correct? Company is my master record. And what is the child? Child is the employee, correct? And here you see there is one employee that I've created. Now let me add one more employee here. So let me say Antonio, and I'll provide an email ID. Okay, and then because I am creating this child record from the parent, so it is automatically it has automatically populated the parent. So let me save it. So now you can see there are two employees under TCS company. Okay, so what this point is saying, that if you delete a master record, all the detailed records will be deleted automatically. Okay, so what is my master record? My master record is this. Company record is my master record. So it is telling me that if I delete this record, then all the child records, what are the child records? Ceci and Antonio. So when I delete this, if I go to employees object, then I should not be able to see these two records, because that is one of the features of the master detail relationship. Okay, so let's just go ahead and delete this one. So if I delete this, and if I go to employees, look at this, the employees are gone, right? So this is one of the features of master detail relationship, that if you delete the master, all the associated child records are going to get deleted. Okay, this one is the detail object inherits the security and sharing settings of the master object. This means that the detail object is only visible to users who have access to the master object. Okay, this one I'm not going to showcase you because I would have to log into some other user, but I will explain you and you will understand. Don't worry about it. So here, let's say that you are a user and you have logged into the org. Okay, and it says that, for example, let's say that you have access to see thesis record. Okay, I mean, you have been given all the permission to see the company records, and that is why you are able to see the TCS record. Okay, now if TCS has two employees, Ceci and Angela. Okay, if TCS has two employees, and if you have the permission to see the TCS record, then only you will be able to see the employee records. Okay, the child records. But let's say if you don't have the permission to see this record, okay, then you will not be able to see these two records. So here, going back here, let me create another. I would rather go to recycle bin and restore my record. So what is the parent? Parent is TCS here, okay? So it says that, for example, I'm a system admin. That is why, like, I have all the permissions. But let's say if I'm a normal user, like, not a system admin, and if I log into this org, and if I'm able to see this particular record, this parent record, the master record, then I will also have the permission to see the child records. Then I would be able to see the child records. Okay. But it is not possible that if you don't have the permission to see this record, then you will not be able to see the child records. If you don't have the permission to see the TCS record in this particular example, then if you go to employees table, you will not be able to see these two records. Okay. So that is what it means, because in case of master detail relationship, whatever permissions, sharing and permissions, the detail object or the child object has, that is inherited from the parent. Okay. So whatever access the parent has, the same access the child will also have. All right. So that is another feature. Okay, one more thing I have not mentioned here. Okay, this one, the owner field from detail records disappears as it consider the owner from the master. Okay, so here, let's just go to the master first. So this company record, if I open this, you can see the owner is me. Okay, here, you can see the owner field. But if I go to the child records here, okay, where is the owner? There is, if I show you in the backend, there is no field in the backend as well. The owner is not here because it is automatically understood that in case of master detail relationship, whoever is the owner of the master record, the same owner will be on the child record. Okay, so that is why it is not, I mean, it is never mentioned, or it, you can say that it automatically disappears the way we just saw, right? Because whenever you see a child record and you don't see a owner, that means the owner is nothing but the one which is tagged on the master record. Okay, so that is another feature of master detail relationship, where the owner of the master record is the owner of the child, and that is the reason that the child record does not have the owner field. All right, so that is another feature. The next one is reparenting is turned off by default. You can turn it on if required. Okay, so let me just explain you reparenting first. So here, let me just go to this particular field and edit this field. So here, see, child records can be reparented to other parent records after they are created. Okay. So whenever you are creating a master detail relationship, the moment you create a record, you will not have access to edit the record. Basically, if you go on the child record, okay, and if you try to edit the parent reference and try to reparent it to some other master record, then you will not be able to do so. In order to allow the reparenting, you have to check this checkbox. Okay, and you have to save this. So that means allow reparenting is checked. If I go here and let me refresh this. And this is my child record, right? Now, if I go to my child record and if I click on this, I can actually associate some other record to it. Okay. Let me just create few more records for the company. Okay. And I can save this. And if I want to change it again, I can reparent it again. Okay. I can put TCS here and I can save this. But if your allow reparenting is not true, then you will not see this field as editable. It is going to be in this pencil icon. You will not see it here. Okay. So that is another feature of a master detail relationship, because sometimes, like, if you're working on some projects, there might be some requirements where you want to reparent some of the child records to some other parent, right? So in that case, let's say if you're not able to do it, then you should know that, like, by doing what kind of change on the field level, you will be able to actually reparent the child record. Okay, so you just have to go to the field and allow the reparenting, that reparenting option that we just checked. Okay, and once you have that in place, you will be able to reparent a child record, okay, in your org. So that's another feature. Let's just go to the next point. When you undelete parent record, child comes back as well in the restore process. Okay, so let me just show you what I mean by this. So let's say this is parent, okay, and it has two child. Okay, now we know that if we delete the parent, all the child records will also be deleted. Okay, so if I delete this, okay, I've deleted TCS. Let me just delete this. So the 2 employees that I had associated with that should also be deleted. Now it is deleted. So the last point, the last feature is saying that if you go to recycle bin and if you undelete that master record, so when you undelete the master record, when you restore the master record, so there will be 2 things that will happen. Master record will be restored, and along with the master record, the child will also be restored. So if I go to recycle bin, I don't have to specifically restore 3 records, right? 1 master and 2 child records. No, I just have to restore the master record and the child record will come along with it. Okay, let's just go ahead and check this out. So this is what I just deleted, right? The master record. So I'll click on this and I'll click on store. Now, if I go to company, I should be able to see TCS. And if I go to employees, I should be able to see these 2 employees. And also the association will be there. Okay. So if I click on this, you can see it here. Okay. So this was all about master detail relationship. There are just few things that you have to keep in mind if you have a very hard and fast requirement of association between 2 objects, right? Then you have to create a master detail relationship, or you can also break it down in some other way. Let's say if your requirement comes in such a way where your client is saying that they want to have such a relationship, when they actually delete the parent record, all the associated child records should be deleted. Then you should, this should click your mind that in such cases you have to create a master detail relationship, right? Because these kind of features are not available into the lookup relationship field. In lookup relationship fields, it is optional, or you can say flexible, where child can also exist without a parent. So that is why if you have a very hard and fast requirement of such things that a child cannot be created without a parent, or if you delete a parent, then all the associated childs should be deleted as well, then in such cases you are supposed to create a master detail relationship. Okay, I hope this would have cleared out the basic fundamental of master detail relationship. Now let's just go ahead and see what else do we have in master detail relationship to discuss. So this was the features. Now comes the question that, can you create a master detail relationship between a standard object and a custom object, or a standard object and a standard object, right? So this is the table that I have here. So there are a few points that you have to keep in mind, and I think it will be easier for you to remember, because these are just either one or two, hardly 2 points. And if you remember these 2 points, you will actually never get confused. Okay, so here, let's say if you have to create a master detail relationship between, so the first point is that if you are creating a master detail relationship between 2 objects and one of the objects is a standard object, then the standard object will never be on the detail side. That means standard object will never be the child object. It will always be the master object. Okay, that is why I have mentioned M here, master and detail. Okay, so the first question is that whether it is possible to create a master detail relationship field between a standard object and a custom object. The answer is yes, but your standard object is always going to be the master object. So let's say if I have account and I have employee object. Okay, so account is a standard object and employee is a custom object. Okay, now I have to create a master detail relationship between the account and employee object. Okay, so where would I be creating the master detail relationship? Now, as I just mentioned the point that a standard object will never be on the detail side, never be on the child side. Okay, so that means in this case, account is going to be the master and employee is going to be the child, correct? Or the detail object, you can say. Okay, so and where do you actually create a master detail relationship field? On the child, right? So in case of account and employee example, you will go to employee object and you will create a master detail relationship, and you will choose the account object as the parent object, the related object. Okay, so that is how you have to remember that. So whenever this kind of combination comes into picture, the only thing you have to keep in mind is that master object is the standard object is always going to be the master object. It will never be on the detail side. Okay, so this relationship is possible: standard object, custom object, keeping the standard object as the master. Okay, this is possible. Now, standard object and standard object. Okay, so now we just discussed, right, that a standard object can never be on the detail side. So let's say if you have a requirement where you have to create a master detail relationship between 2 standard objects, let's say account and case, for example. Okay, so you will not be able to do so. You have to maybe create a lookup for such kind of to maintain a relationship between them, Okay, but you cannot create a master detail relationship because both objects are standard objects, account and case. Okay, so no matter which object you consider as the master and which one you consider as the child, on one of the objects you would have to create the field, right? And the point being that a standard object will never be on the detail side rules out this possibility that you cannot create this particular combination. Okay, so you cannot create a master detail relationship between a standard object and a standard object. All right, now the third point is custom object and custom object. So definitely yes, that is what we just did, right? We created a master detail relationship between company and employees, correct? And then the only difference was that in company and employees it was not very explicit that which is going to be the master and which is going to be the child. So in that case we analyzed that which is required and which cannot be created without the other required, like without the other record. For example, I should not be creating an employee without a company, right? So that is how we figured out the relationship. Okay, and one company can have multiple employees. That is how I figured out the relationship, and I figured out which will be the master and which will be the detail. All right, the third one is custom object and standard object. Okay, so here again this is also not possible because see, standard object cannot be on the detail side. Okay, so this also this combination is also ruled out. All right, now here this point we already discussed. Now the second point is lead and user object can never be on the master side if the detail object is a standard object. Okay, so we already know that we can create a relationship, a master detail relationship between a standard object and a custom object. For example, this one. Okay, but let's say, for example, let's say for example, if your one of your objects is lead object. Okay, so I'm just going to give you an example. Okay, so let's say you have lead object and then you have employees. Okay, because employees is a custom object, that is why I'm taking that example. Okay, so lead is a standard object and your employees is a custom object. Okay, so what this point is trying to say, now you have a standard object and a custom object in picture. Okay, and now you're deciding that you have to create a master detail relationship. So on which object you would be creating? So you know the first rule. The first rule is that a standard object can never be on the detail side, correct? So in this case, in case of lead and employee, you cannot keep the lead on the detail side, on the child side. Okay, now what is the option which is left out? The option is that, okay, if I cannot, you will think that if I cannot keep lead on the child side, then I will make the lead as master. But no, so this is an exception, and I'm not quite sure what are the reasons, because I did not go through the documentation. But in case of lead and user object, you cannot create a master detail relationship. Okay, if the detail object is a standard object. So basically this situation comes in this one. Okay, standard object and standard object and a custom object. But let's say if you want to do the same thing in a vice versa situation, you can do it. Okay, so for example, in the same use case, lead and employee, if you want to create a master detail relationship, what will you do? You cannot create in this case. Okay, in this use case you cannot create, because again lead is a standard object and standard object cannot be on the detail side. So basically you cannot do that. Okay, and just keep these two objects in mind, that when you are working with lead and user, rather go with a lookup field rather than creating a master detail field and then just wondering that why you are not able to create or proceed. All right, so these are the four combinations that you have to keep in mind. I would say just keep this rule in your in your head, and then once you have memorized this rule, you don't have to actually memorize this table. You will be able to figure out by yourself, and this one is just an exception. All right, so this was all about master detail relationship. Now let's just go ahead and check out the lookup relationship. Okay, so now let's say in this one, if I have a requirement, let me just go to the table. Okay, so let's say if my client says that, you know what, it is not mandatory that an employee will have a company. For example, if this can be kept blank and this should be totally valid, this should be a valid data. I mean, that is the expectation from the client, that if they want to create such a record, then they should be able to do so. So what will you do? So in such cases, you cannot create a master detail relationship, right? Because in master detail relationship, you cannot create a child record without the parent reference. Okay, without the parent record. All right, so in such case, you will create a lookup relationship, because lookup relationship is more flexible. It does not mandate the association of the parent record. So you can create a child record without a parent record. Okay, so that is the basic definition of a lookup relationship, and of course, like, the main agenda of a lookup relationship as well is to, like, form an association, or like, create a relationship between two objects. But in this case, this association is not required. Okay, you can create that field, you can keep it there, you can just create this data without even giving the reference, and you'll be able to save the record. Okay, so let's just go ahead and check out the features. So the child object in a lookup relationship can exist independently of the parent. The example we just discussed. Okay, so let me just go ahead and create one so that we can discuss all the points. Okay. Okay, so here I'm going to create a lookup relationship. And let me first delete this one because I want to use these two objects and I don't want to every time fill this. So let me delete this. I would have to delete the record. I'm going to delete this as well. All right, so I don't have anything on my employees and companies. Okay, now we are just doing the same requirement here, but we should be able to create such a record. Okay, so I'll go to employees. And again, the same fundamental follows here, that you will be creating this field on the child record, right? And here, if you see the relationship is still same, right? One company can have multiple employees, right? So this is still your child and this is still your parent, right? But the only difference is that in this case, because we want to have this flexibility of not providing the parent, we are going ahead and creating a lookup relationship field. Okay, so I'm going to the employee object and creating a lookup relationship field. So employee object, new, and lookup relationship. So here, company. All right. Field name companies. This is fine. I'll click on next. Let me just give it something else. I deleted the field, not sure why is it. Let me just check again. So, okay. I think I deleted something else. Let me delete this. Okay, I had not deleted it. I had just deleted the records, right? So I'm just removing the master detail and going ahead, and you can have a master detail and also lookup, but I just don't want to, like, keep on filling all those data. So that is why I deleted the master detail. So here, lookup relationship, next, company, next. All right. I'm just, so here you see that by default everything was not selected, right? Because I mean, it becomes mandate, like, for all the, like, profiles, because whoever is having access to that layout, they have to provide the parent record, right, in master detail. So, but in case of lookup, we had to manually select it. So next, and then I'm going to keep it on the layout and I'm just going to save it. So now here, if I create, let me create a company, like a parent record. I'm going to create a parent record first. Okay. So I have not created any other fields. That is why you're not seeing it. But if you're working on any of the requirements projects, you'll have multiple fields as per your requirement. So this is my parent record and this is my child. Okay. Now, in case of master detail, when I was creating the child, I had to provide a parent association, right? But in this case, you'll see that it is not required. Okay. So employee name, let's say Robert. And see, the required check is not here, right? Star is not here. So I can save this without, okay. Yeah, this, I have made this field required. So do not worry about this. Okay, so I created an employee record, a child record, without providing the parent record. But you know what? It is optional. If you want to make this field mandatory, you can go to the field, edit, and make it required from the field level. Okay. Or you can also make it required from the layout level. I'll show you both the examples. For example, this one I want to make it required. So I'll just edit it. and I can see I can make it required. Okay, so the moment I make it required, then nobody will be able to actually create an employee record without providing the company. But I mean, it is not by default mandatory as it was in master detail. Okay, so it is optional. If you want to make it required from the, if you make it required from the field level, that means you are making it required from the database level. But let's say if I don't do this, let me cancel this. Okay, I can also make it required just from the layout. Okay, so I can go to the layout here. I believe if you guys have explored Salesforce a little bit, you would be knowing about like, page layouts, that how you can like, make these changes from the page layout. So here, see, I can make it required from here as well. Okay. So this would be required just from the layout. But if somebody, let's say, enters the data from the backend, okay, then they will be able to enter it, because making a field required from the layout is only impacted, only the user will be impacted, whoever like, is accessing your system from the UI. But anybody entering the data from the backend, they would be able to bypass these rules. Okay, so this is optional. Okay, so you can if you want, you can make it required or not required. So this is a lookup relationship. Okay, if I want to, I did not make it required. No. Yeah, so I can just, if I want, I can associate any company to it and save it. And if I want, I can just remove it. Okay, so this is a lookup relationship. Okay, and let's just go ahead and see what was the other feature of the lookup relationship. Okay, so this was the first one, that it can exist without the parent. Lookup relationships are represented in Salesforce by a special field on the child object called a lookup field. So when we started creating the field, we selected the data type as a lookup, right? So that is what this point says. Lookup relationship can be either required or optional, right? By default, it is optional. If you want to make it required, you can either make it required from the database level, that is like, from the field level, or you can make it required from the page layout level. All right. And then lookup relationships are useful for creating relationships between objects that do not have a strong dependency on each other. Okay, so if there is no dependency on the two object relationships, then you can actually go ahead and create a lookup relationship rather than creating a master detail relationship. All right, so this was all about master detail relationship and lookup relationship fields in Salesforce. I believe I have covered all the basic stuff. So I can summarize it for you again. So in a master, so if you have to create a strict relationship between two objects, if the child cannot exist without the parent, or if you have a requirement wherein like, when you delete the parent, all the child should be deleted. So in such cases, you would be creating a master detail relationship. That's point number one. The second point is that where you would be creating the master detail relationship field, right? Always on the child side. Okay. If there are two objects, and you have figured out the relationship, that which is the master and which is the detail, or which is the parent or which is the child, if you have figured that out, then you have to go to the child object, or you can say the detail object, and you have to create the field. Okay, so that is point number two. The third point that we had discussed, the third main point, is that if you have, let's say if you have a standard object and a custom object, and if it is like standard object, so in those cases, you have to keep this rule in mind, that a standard object will never be on the detail side. Okay, and if you're actually like, creating a relationship wherein lead or user standard objects come in picture, then you cannot create a master detail relationship, because lead and user can not be on the master side of a master detail relationship. Okay, and also you cannot keep it on the detail side. All right, so that was one point. And in case of lookup relationships, everything is same. The only thing is that it is not required. Okay, if you want to make it required, you can make it required. Otherwise, you can just keep it optional. Okay, the other point is that I have not covered here, but I would be covering in some other session. So there's a concept of a roll-up summary field. So in case of master detail relationship fields, if you have associated two objects, or if you have established a relationship between two objects using master detail relationship field, then you can create a roll-up summary. Okay, but in case of lookup relationship field, you cannot create a roll-up summary. So don't worry about it, but I would be creating another video on that what is a roll-up summary field and how we can actually utilize the master detail relationship field in order to create a roll-up summary field. All right. So that's it for now. But if you have any more questions on how to create a master detail relationship or how to create a lookup relationship, and if you did not understand any of the basic features, then just drop a comment on the comment section and I'll try to respond. And the last point is that I'm not sure if you have already started wondering that one object can have I mean, what is the limit of creating a master detail or a lookup relationship on an object. Okay, so I would suggest you that just Google it. There is there's a limit of how many master detail can you have on one object and how many lookup fields can you have on one object. All right, so thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.